So they say that bodhicitta is, we're cultivating our motivation now, that bodhicitta is like the cream when you churn the milk of the Dharma. In other words, it's what rises to the top, that what is the richest and the most precious. And so when you think about it, the mind that cares about the well-being of each and every living being, omitting none, you can't really think of a better state of mind that would work for the welfare of the world. And not just our world, but all the different worlds in this universe, all the different sentient beings wherever they are. And so from the viewpoint of an ordinary being, when we look at the bodhisattvas who have this mind, it brings us security in knowing that we are never left out, that the bodhisattvas, the Buddhas, are always concerned with our well-being. So it provides security in that respect. It also provides a goal and a meaning for us in our lives to cultivate that same attitude. Because when you think of all the things you can do during your life, generating bodhicitta really, is at the top in terms of meaning and value. And although bodhicitta alone by itself won't liberate us from cyclic existence, it motivates us to understand the ultimate nature, to realize the emptiness of inherent existence. And that's the mental state that actually cuts away at the ignorance and directly brings about liberation and awakening. So if you're ever bored and you wonder what to do, cultivating bodhicitta will alleviate your boredom and steer your mind in a very healthy and beneficial state. So let's do that today and for the rest of our lives. I was reading that there's a traffic jam at Mount Everest these days. That there are so many people wanting to climb to the top that they have to stand in line. And there was a photo along a huge ridge, cliff this side, cliff that side, of people. I don't know. I mean, it was a really long line, not just like 10 or 20 or 30 people, really long line of people waiting to get to the top of Mount Everest. Yeah, it costs about $11,000 to just do the trip. Yeah, not counting. Oh, I was going to say not counting all the training that you have to do. Oh, really? Okay. Okay. What I read, so $80,000, not including, all the costs to do the training beforehand. Okay. of climbing mountains and doing all of that kind of stuff. And then you get close to the top, and there's this long line. And this year, there's been 10 people who have died so far trying to get to the top. And some people are saying it's because of the long line. And of course, the Nepali government says, no, it has nothing to do with that. Okay. But what I'm interested in is the mind state of these people who want to get to the top of Mount Everest. Yeah. And it's people from all over the world, you know. And people die. They give up their lives going up and back. And sometimes, you know, they are just, their bodies, their dead bodies are left on the mountain. Yeah, they freeze. In some cases, the relatives want the bodies, so they endanger other people's lives by sending other mountain climbers up to get the dead bodies of their relatives and bring them down. Okay. Now, what's that mental state? Yeah, that thinks this is going to be my ultimate supreme accomplishment, getting to the highest place on the planet. You know, that you're willing to risk your life and spend over 80,000 plus and spend years training for it. Yeah. That this is so momentous and meaningful and bringing a high purpose in your life that you're willing to do that. And then, of course, you know, now, you know, everybody and their uncle, almost, many people are going to the top of Everest. So you're really no longer, you know, the special one. Maybe amongst your group of friends you are. Yeah. And of course you have a picture, you take a picture of yourself on the top. Of course, you know. Yeah, maybe you look around for a minute, but the chief thing is to take the picture to prove that you've gotten there. You know, that this set of atoms and molecules has been uplifted to, what, 29,000, how many feet? Yeah. And of course, at the time you die, what difference does it make? Yeah. What difference does it make? You got to the top of Mount Everest. You're number 1,000, what is it, to reach the top of Mount Everest. You know, do they put that across, you know, when the box is lying there, the coffin is lying there, do they put like a banner across saying that you reached the top of Mount Everest? And when you're dead and you're in the bardo and you're in the next life, yeah, do you look down and say, oh, they misspelled my name? Yeah. When you're in the bardo in the next life, you have some other things to worry about. Yeah, you're not concerned with what, you know, your status as the number so-and-so who got to the top of Mount Everest. Okay. So it's so interesting to me that people have this fervent desire, you know, to put so much on the line to get to the top. And bodhicitta is not at all interesting. And yet, what is really meaningful to the world? Yeah? That I got to the top of Mount Everest, or that I inched a little bit closer to having unbiased love and compassion, coupled with the intention to realize emptiness for the benefit of sentient beings. What is really more valuable? Yeah. So I just think about these things sometimes, kind of, it helps to put what we're trying to do in context of this world and what living beings in this world want to accomplish and want to dedicate their life's energy for. Yeah. I could go on and on about the things that I contemplate about the world, Like how people are so, and some people will get mad at me when I say this, some people care so much about where a ball is. Like, is the ball on this piece of grass? Is it on that piece of grass? Did you throw it through this little hoop? Yeah? I mean, again, people spend millions of dollars, and so much energy. How many Sunday afternoons or Sunday mornings are spent fretting over where a ball is? Yeah. And then, of course, the illegal betting that goes on, that you're not supposed to do, but we won't talk about that. It's just fascinating to me, kind of big balls and weird shaped balls and little balls and medium balls, balls you hit with a racket, balls you hit with a putter, balls you just throw, balls you catch. The world is just enchanted. Yeah, by these balls, and I look at it and it's like, okay, there's a white ball and there's a brown ball, and I got better things to do. Okay, that's what kind of a soccer ball? Okay. And then, to have certain ink on a ball. Yeah? And how much balls with ink go for? Yeah? Yeah. Why do they? I mean, I can sign a ball. But you won't pay the same money for my signature. Yeah?
Sign Mallet.
So when you really step back and think about it, we human beings are really rather peculiar, don't you think? Yeah. I mean, the cats, they chase a ball for, about 3 minutes and then they leave it, But, they don't, aren't they? They aren't so obsessed with balls like we are, It's just amazing. Okay. Well, except nobody likes mothballs. Yeah. So, this makes me, I think about these things, because it's like, okay, I'm living in the human world, surrounded by human beings, and what do they put their time and energy towards? Yeah. And what am I putting my time and energy towards? Besides reading about them chasing balls. Yeah. Okay. So when you think about this, then you really see the value of Dharma practice. That what you're doing when you're practicing, even for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, trying to purify this mind, trying to develop our good qualities, trying to open our heart and, have impartial love and compassion for all beings, trying to use our life energy to solve more problems than we create. Yeah. Then you really see, yeah, in some ways I don't fit in this world. But there's enough of us who don't fit in the world that we can create our own identity group. I am a Dharma practitioner. Yeah. You aren't. You don't understand me. Okay. No, but as practitioners, we're trying to go beyond all of that, aren't we? Yeah. So it's just, when you think like this, it puts what you're doing in perspective and helps you see that how meaningful what you're doing is. Yeah. Now, you might say, well, I sat there and okay, I visualized Vajrasattva and his light and nectar coming down, and I recited a bunch of mantra. Yeah. And how does that benefit the world? Yeah. I didn't even do anything useful. I didn't even, make breakfast during that time. I just sat there. Yeah. Yeah. Because some people, when you go back to work, what did you do over Memorial Day? Oh, I went to a meditation retreat. You better go get a life. You spent Memorial Day looking at your belly button. Some people say, kind of like, you should have done something useful, like watch where the balls are. Because then you'll have at least something interesting to talk about when you go to work. Yeah. Yeah. But so when we do Dharma practice, we don't experience, dramatic changes after every meditation session. That's not how it works. Okay? There's a lot of, at the beginning of our practice, we may feel a lot of change. Yeah. And then reality sets in. Yeah. And we realize, there's some pretty deep-rooted issues there that we have to work on. And they're not going to be gone by next Tuesday. And they're not going to vanish, by reciting 21 Vajrasattva mantras. Yeah. But what I'm doing is gradually chipping away at something, and that accumulative chipping away, or that accumulative building of good qualities. Yeah. We don't often notice in our world that is where we want quick, cheap, and easy change. Okay. But what we're doing is incredibly valuable, and it has a very strong impact on the rest of the world. Yeah. You may say, well, so what? But, we get letters here from people who have never been here, who say, it is so comforting for me to know that you people are there doing your practice. They've never even been here. Yeah? But it gives them hope. Yeah? And I think hope and optimism are some of the most important qualities we need in life. So if we can give other people hope, if we can present optimism, if we can show people methods for dealing with their mental afflictions, then I think that is a great contribution. And how do we do that? By first working on ourselves. Yeah. Because we have to apply the teachings to ourselves, become familiar with them, really get into the nitty-gritty of our own mind, and then slowly begin to share those things with other people. And because we've had similar experiences to them in our lives and similar problems, then we can communicate. Yeah. So don't underestimate, the value of what you're doing when you have a regular spiritual practice that you attend to. Okay. Notice the word regular. Okay? Because it's really important to do something regularly, like every day. Yeah? Because you build up momentum. And if you start something and then you stop, then you have to build everything up again, build the momentum up again. Whereas each day, if you just keep doing it, you're maintaining what you've accomplished, not losing it, and slowly building it up. And then during the year, when you have time to do retreat, then you can really engage in more serious practice and go even deeper. Okay? And your friends and relatives will notice it. Yeah, they will notice it. And they'll appreciate it. So there was one woman, this is when I lived in Seattle and I was with DFF. She was one of the early members of DFF. She had red hair, blazing red hair. She also had lupus, so she was in a wheelchair. And she worked for the FAA. So her colleagues used to call her Hellfire on Wheels, because she had a temper that matched her red hair. Okay. And she started practicing the Dharma. And her colleagues at work noticed the change. Yeah, can you imagine that? The colleagues at work went and said, "You're different, you're changing, what's happening?" And these were back in the days when the Dharma teachings were on cassettes. Remember? Yeah, some of you were with the dinosaurs too. Okay, I don't know. Did you remember cassette tapes? No. Yeah, so. Okay. When did life start with you? MP3s? CDs? CDs, okay. Okay, because the kids now, we're going to see you as a dinosaur because you remember CDs. Yeah. No, but who uses CDs now? So she had this whole set of Lamrim teachings on cassette tapes, over 150 cassette tapes. One of her colleagues at the FAA borrowed it and listened to the whole series because he wanted to know what she was learning that had changed her so much. Yeah? So don't try to be an example to others. Yeah. I have done that, where I tried to be a good example. It's a failure, okay? Yeah. So don't try to be a good example. Just live your life and be a good example. And people will pick up on that. Yeah. And those of you who have kids, remember, it's do as I do, not as I say. You know, or don't, or maybe both, but don't do it the way my mother do it. Do what I say, not what I do. Yeah. Yeah. Like, don't lie, and then go and lie. Okay, so don't do that. Okay, so let's continue on here. I want to unpack a little further some of what you meditated on last night. So this is why in one of the prayers, I can't remember which one, but it says, don't despise yourself. Oh, it's in the ordination ceremony. Yeah, I can't remember the whole verse. Yeah, do you have the verse handy? Okay, well, she's looking at it. It's a verse in the ordination ceremony that explicitly states, do not despise yourself. So when you think like I was just describing, then there's absolutely no reason to despise yourself. Yeah, give yourself credit for what you're doing. Okay, so the verse says, know yourself to be honorable and outstanding like this. Generate the feeling of preciousness and respect, and do not despise yourself. Despise is misspelled. It says despite. It should be an S instead of a T. Okay? But know yourself to be honorable and outstanding like this. So give yourself credit for what you do. Okay, you're not Buddha, but what you have done, give yourself credit for. You know, generate the feelings of preciousness and respect. So see your life as precious, because it was hard to get this precious human life. And respect yourself and respect other living beings. And do not despise yourself. Yeah. Okay? So that's something very important to remember. You know, despising ourselves, putting ourselves down is a big hindrance. Okay? So we need to regret our misdeeds, but regretting our misdeeds and despising ourselves are two different things. Okay? Regretting the misdeeds are my action. Remember, the person and the action are different. I did a harmful action. I regret it. Despising ourselves is another function of self-centeredness, of I'm so bad. I'm hopeless. I can't do anything right. Blah, blah, blah. You know the story. Okay? So don't do that. The antidote to despising yourself is not getting arrogant. Yeah. I remember talking to one person and telling him, you know, give yourself a break, you know, be kind to yourself, don't despise yourself. He said, I'm afraid if I do that, then I'll get lazy. Yeah. That if I'm not hard on myself, if I don't hate myself, then I won't exert any energy to do anything good. But the problem was he was so busy hating himself, he didn't have much energy to exert to doing anything else, you know. Because when you hate yourself, that energy is all-consuming, isn't it? you know? When you're always putting yourself down, then, you're constantly seeking something to distract yourself from that feeling. Then you wind up doing all sorts of nutty things. Okay? So very important, Okay, I made mistakes. I purify those. Yeah. But I've also done good things. I have a precious human life. I have the Buddha potential. Now let's use them. Okay? So, I guess you could say it's the carrot and the stick thing. Hating yourself is the stick. Bang, I'm so terrible. And the carrot is, wow, I'm a reputable person. What does it say? See yourself as honorable. Respect yourself. Yeah, that's the carrot. See your good qualities. And then, of course, you want to increase them. And you can. So you set your mind to that. Yeah. So you throw the ball out the window, and then you have lots of time, to direct. Okay. Yeah?
Antidote was not getting arrogant, but I'm too thick. I don't see it. I don't see the connection.
Okay. Because you mean why somebody would get arrogant?
Why?
Isn't arrogance. Because just as putting yourself down is one of the shenanigans of self-centered thought, so is arrogance. Putting ourselves down is, I'm so bad. Arrogance is, I'm so wonderful. The star of both of them is me. Okay? So they're basically flip sides of the same coin. Yeah. The coin is me. That somehow I am special. I am either the best or I am the worst, but it all centers on me. And I remember once His Holiness was teaching in San Francisco, and it was after one of these conferences, the Mind Life conferences, where the topic of self-hate came up. And His Holiness was very perplexed by that. Yeah. And he said this was, this room full of PhDs. Yeah. And His Holiness said, well, who has this self-hatred? And all these people, I'm not a PhD. I'm a lowly BA. Which doesn't count for anything these days anyway, Try to move up the path to awakening and show my certificate. And they said, doesn't matter. Yeah, we don't accept BA certificates for, progressing on the path to awakening. They make absolutely no difference. It's true, isn't it? It's true, now that you're graduating and getting that piece of paper. Yeah. You have what? 2 more weeks left. Yes, it's Happy Mom Day, not Graduation Day. It's Get Mom Off My Back. But his mom also came here, and she liked it. Yeah, and told his cousin to come too. So, yeah, your mom's getting there. Yeah, please ask her to come back. So where was I? Yeah, yeah. So it was a room full of PhDs, and His Holiness says, who has this problem with self-loathing? And all these people look at each other and say, we all do. And His Holiness was totally floored. Totally. He couldn't believe it. He said, but you're so successful in worldly life, because he knew that's what mattered to these people. He said, you're so successful. Why do you hate yourself? And then began a whole session of brainstorming, which was really interesting, tracing the roots of that. But later, when he was speaking in San Francisco, he proposed compassion as an antidote to self-loathing. And I thought that was kind of strange, because here in America we always say, well, you got to love yourself before you can love others. Okay? And there's some truth to that. But His Holiness was saying, no, compassion for others. He left out the part about loving yourself. Yeah. And it really made me think, now why in the world did he say that? Yeah. Or is this one of the things that Tibetans just don't understand about us? But when your teacher says something, you need to think about it. So I thought about it, and what I came up with is when we pay attention to others' well-being, then we can't spin around our own problems. And we don't have time to put ourselves down. We don't have time to make ourselves the greatest one in the world. When our focus goes to benefiting others, it evens ourselves out. Our place in the world evens out. Yeah. And so it isn't always me, I, what's happening to me, what am I? It becomes more us. Yeah. And our field of reference expands to include others. And that changes our feeling about ourselves. Yeah. And also because people feel good about themselves when they help others. Yeah. And it starts when you're a little kid. When you're 2 or 3 years old, you always go to mom or dad or grandma or grandpa, who's ever there, and says, can I help? Yeah. Little kids want to help. They only stop wanting to help because of the example their parents set. When the parents go, oh, I really don't want to do the laundry, this is such a pain in the neck, then the kids start saying that, and they don't want to help you do the laundry. Yeah. But if you're like, oh, I get to take care of the family, I get to take care of others, and folding the laundry is a time to connect with your kids, and have some discussions and all, it can change the whole dynamic. Yeah, so I think that's why His Holiness prescribes cherishing others as a way to feel good about ourselves and as a way to create happiness in our lives.
My question would be, why would that not be a distraction instead of an antidote?
Why wouldn't cherishing others be a distraction rather
right, because
than
you
an antidote?
cherish others and feel good about your activity when you're in the soup kitchen, but then when you get home and pull in the driveway and walk into your own house, you're back in your own stuff.
Yeah, well, that if you really the attitude of cherishing others, yeah, we don't want it to be there just when we're doing something nice. We want it to be an attitude change in general, so that when you walk back into your own house, it's not, okay, I did my good deed, but now I'm just so depressed and my life's falling apart. No, it's a whole attitude change in your life. Yeah? So that even when you're alone, you start seeing what you do, because we're always in relationship to others. You start, including this virtuous motivation of benefiting others with everything you do. And so there's a practice in Tibetan Buddhism and in Chinese Buddhism, called mind training, where you recite different gathas, different short phrases, while you're doing very mundane actions. And by thinking according to these little verses or phrases, then your whole attitude when you do these mundane actions changes. Okay? Do you want to give an illustration of one? She's our expert in gathas.
I just found it very inspiring when I practice it. Indeed, is helpful to turn the mind in different directions. Like I had or have still habits where I ruminate a lot or play maybe or think negatively. So, for example, you could go up the hill or down the hill instead of having a wild mind going in all directions. You could think, by going up, may I take with me all sentient beings to liberation. When you go down, you imagine, you say the Gata, may I go to the lower realms to benefit all sentient beings. Now, Lama Shutan had this example with washing dishes. May I wash off the defilements of all sentient beings. So instead of ruminating or thinking negatively all the time, the mind goes in different virtuous directions.
Yeah. So it's a really nice practice, yeah, to do that. Okay, so I wanted to explain here. Mm-hmm. So you meditate on the 6 things like a bucket on yourself, so you get an idea of your own samsara. Then you meditate on the 6, thinking of other sentient beings being in that same situation. And again, start with individuals you know. Yeah. Don't just say, well, all these other living beings are like a bucket in the well. Think about it really towards people that you care about, towards strangers, people you don't like, and really see how sentient beings lack freedom. Yeah, we think we have freedom in this country. But as long as our mind is tied by the rope of afflictions and karma, we don't have freedom. Yeah, the afflictions are powerful, they rise in our mind, and they take us off and running, or sliding down the slippery slope. So, when you think of the, other individuals as being controlled by their afflictions, controlled by their karma, it becomes much easier to have patience and tolerance for their bad actions, and much easier to have fortitude and not get discouraged yourself in the confront of, when you're in the face of their bad actions or, whatever it is they do. Okay? And so you start with individuals, you gradually expand it. And this really gives you a different way of viewing people. And especially, we've been talking about the political divide or the whatever kind of divide it is in the country right now. And when you think of, instead of looking at other people and just like, these people are hopeless, they're so stupid, they think they want this, they want that, they're not thinking clearly, they're immoral, they don't care about others, they're ignorant, And instead of just thinking about people who don't think in the same way as you do with these kinds of adjectives, think about them as beings who are controlled by afflictions and karma, just in the same way we're controlled by our afflictions and karma. Yeah. They want happiness, but their anger gets in the way. Just like with us. They want happiness, but their ignorance, gets in the way. Their greed gets in the way. It's not that they're inherently bad or evil people. It's just their minds are clouded by these afflictions that are not their nature. The afflictions are not the nature of the mind. So just as we can free our mind from them, they can free their minds from their afflictions. Okay, so the afflictions are not union oneness with the people. It's very important. And for us, we are not our afflictions, they are not our nature, they are not an inherent part of us. And similar for other living beings. Okay? So then when we look at other living beings, we can have compassion because we realize how much they suffer because of their ignorance, anger, and attachment, because of their jealousy and arrogance. Yeah? And so, we can see how they want happiness, and what they're doing most of the time is creating the causes for their own suffering. So given that that's the situation of most sentient beings, is it any surprise that they don't do what I want them to do? Is it any surprise that they do foolish things? Because I can look at their lives and see exactly what they need to do. Like we were talking about, we can see where other people are stuck so easily. It's so easy to see other people's weaknesses. Our own, we live with our own, but we can't even see them. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. So anyway, it makes us all more open-hearted, yeah, to other living beings. Okay, then the next step here, yeah, was the next meditative reflection, yeah, where you're generating 3 levels of love and then 3 levels of compassion. Yeah. So these 3 levels, if you remember the 4 immeasurables, yeah, and the long version of the 4 immeasurables. Yeah. How wonderful it would be if all sentient beings had happiness and its causes. May they have happiness and its causes. I will get engaged in bringing them happiness and its causes. So those 3 levels, yeah, and they apply to love, compassion, to empathic joy, and to equanimity. Yeah, so those 4 phases when you do the long 4 immeasurables, like in the Chenrezig practice. In the Chenrezig practice, in addition to those 3, the 4th one is you say, Guru Chenrezig, please inspire my mind to be able to do so. Yeah, that's asking for the inspiration of of Chenrezig. But the 3 aspirations are the same ones in here. Okay? So this person wants happiness but is bereft. So that's the state of the person. Okay? Then the first kind of love. How nice it would be, or how wonderful it would be, if they could be imbued with happiness and all the causes of happiness. So that's the first wish. You're just saying how wonderful it would be. Yeah. So think of your colleague at work who drives you nuts. Wouldn't it be nice if that person had happiness and its causes? Yeah. Now, His Holiness says start with a friend. Yeah, all the books say start with somebody you respect. Yeah, I like starting with somebody I don't get along with because it's much more powerful for me. I should probably try following the instructions. There's probably a reason why the sages, said start with somebody that you have positive feelings for. But I I find it so helpful just to start with somebody who, who irritates me, or who I should more accurately say, I get irritated by, because nobody else irritates me except me. I'm the one who makes myself irritated. Okay. But it really helps to think, how wonderful. So I think about Donnie a lot, and, Donnie and I have a fraught relationship here. Yeah. And I think, may this guy have happiness in his causes. And then when I think that, it really helps me to look at what his life is like. Somebody who has to watch Fox News all day to see how his image is getting portrayed to the world. Yeah, is that a person who's happy? Yeah. Somebody who likes to tweet insults and put other people down and humiliate other people publicly, is somebody like that a happy person? It really helps me see, boy, here's somebody with really bad problems, and intense suffering. And if that person were happy, yeah, imagine him being happy, not caring so much about his reputation, not caring so much about his power. Imagine him just being a living being who exudes happiness. Yeah? Wow, wouldn't that be cool? Yeah. And his wife, who most of the photos of her, poor lady, she looks miserable all the time. Don't you think? Oh my goodness, she looks so unhappy. Now, what would it be like for her to have happiness in its causes? Yeah? What would it be like for both of them? And then I put Mitch in there, And I think, what would happen if they were happy people who really wanted the best for others? Yeah, how much different their lives would be. How much their personal experience would be. And so then it makes so much sense to say how wonderful it would be if they had happiness in its causes. And by its causes, I don't mean good poll numbers. Yeah, Donnie may think that good poll numbers are the causes of happiness, and that lots of time on Fox and Friends is the cause of happiness. But he's confused in that area, What would it be like if he had real causes of happiness, with a loving, compassionate heart? Yeah. Where he could walk across that front lawn to the helicopter with a real smile on his face that came from his heart. Wouldn't that be incredible? And what an incredible image for the country to see it, the leader be a joyful person like this. Yeah, wouldn't that affect you? Yeah? So then it makes so much sense. Yes, let's wish him well. And let's wish him to really have the actual causes of happiness so that he has a peaceful heart. Yeah? So that he has space in his heart for love and compassion that would bring him so much relaxation. Yeah? Okay. And so then all the mind with contempt, all the mind, wishing that truck would hurry up and come, you don't do that to that person anymore. Yeah? Because it really makes much more sense to wish them to have happiness in its causes. Because then they wouldn't, he'd be acting totally different. Yeah? And imagine Mitch, coming in and hitting that gavel and saying, okay, everybody today, bring out your hearts of love and compassion and let's see what we can do to benefit the people of this country. And not only the people of this country, because our country has power in the world, what can we do to improve the situation of beings in other countries too? Yeah? Can you imagine? And Nancy going into the House of Representatives and banging the gavel and saying that? Okay? So you see, it really behooves us to wish these people well, not to hate them. Okay? And the same goes for your colleague who you don't like. Yeah? Or your ex-spouse who once you thought was wonderful and now you don't want to even talk to. Go figure that out. How come our minds are like this? But, or that dog that bit you. Yeah? Have some love and compassion for the dog who bit you. Or our neighbor's dog, who I saw some of you met the other day. Yeah. The big dog who loves jumping on you. Yeah. Who he never learned any manners, but he's so happy to see people. Do you see his tail? Boom, 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 boom. He loves people. This dog is just exuding joy. Yeah, and he's so happy he wants to jump with joy on top of you and knock you over. Yeah, but he's adorable. Yeah, so, wish him happiness in its causes. Okay, so we start with how wonderful it would be if they had happiness in its causes. Okay, then we up it a little bit. Yeah, and we go from how wonderful to may they have happiness in its causes. Not just, well, it would be great, but may this actually happen. May they have happiness in its causes. Yeah. And then you think of, the government working like that, or your colleagues, or your neighbor next door who dumped their trash, or whatever it is. May they have happiness in its causes. Yeah. And you contemplate that for a while. That's stronger than how nice it would be. Okay. And may they have these? That's stronger, but we're not willing to get involved yet. Yeah. Somebody's drowning in the water. How wonderful it would be if somebody rescued them. Well, yeah, the guy who's drowning thinks that's good too, but, then we're on the back and we say, may somebody rescue them? And the guy who's drowning says, yeah, I agree with you, but, time's running out. Okay, so then we up it more and we get involved. Okay, I will do whatever I can to make this happen. I will do whatever I can to give them happiness in its causes. Yeah, and so you jump in. Yeah, you jump in if you know how to swim. If you don't know how to swim, you find somebody who does. Or you throw them a life raft. Yeah, or something. Yeah. But this last one is I'm getting involved. It's no longer spectator compassion. Yeah, it's involvement compassion. And so we do whatever we can. Yeah. Now, we all have different abilities. Yeah. Somebody who's drowning in the ocean, some of us may be able to rescue, but some of us may not be able to. Yeah. But somebody else who's very upset because they lost their job, some of us may be able to talk to and help them. And with others of us, that's not what we can do. That's not our strong point. Okay. So at our level, we do whatever we can, but we're practical about what we can and can't do. At the same time, we want to increase what we're capable of doing. Okay? So that's where, the third kind of love, which is similar to the third kind of compassion, when you're doing the 7-point instruction on cause and effect, this constitutes the 6th point of the Great Resolve. Okay, where you're resolving to get involved and benefit sentient beings. So we want to help. But then at the same time, we help as we're able to right now. We've got to increase our abilities. Yeah. So we bump it up more. And this is where Bodhicitta comes in. Because Bodhicitta looks around and says, who can benefit others the most? Yeah? Who can lead sentient beings out of samsara the easiest and the most effectively? And clearly that's the Buddha, isn't it? Yeah. Because the Buddha is omniscient. Yeah, the Buddha has full compassion, full skillful means. The Buddha knows the dispositions, the interests, the capabilities of different sentient beings, where they are at right now in their development. Yeah. A Buddha knows their previous karma. Yeah. So what things can ripen sooner? Yeah. A Buddha knows their habits, and so can accentuate sentient beings' good habits and know exactly what the correct antidotes are to their bad habits. Okay, so because a Buddha has the full compassion and wisdom and skill to benefit sentient beings, then to up it more, we generate the wish to become a Buddha ourselves. Yeah. Why leave it all to Shakyamuni Buddha? Yeah. It's like, you made the vow to save all sentient beings, so go ahead. I'm going to have some tea. Yeah. I'll help you a little bit later on after I have a nap. Are we going to have that attitude towards the Buddha? No. Or are we going to really try and do, to improve our abilities so that we can be of greater assistance to the Buddha in doing the work that liberates all sentient beings? Okay? And so then we generate bodhicitta, that aspiration to attain full awakening for the benefit of all living beings. Okay? So do you see these different steps and how we practice these steps? Yeah. Sometimes you do the meditation and you have a really strong feeling, and sometimes you do it and you say, yeah, I really believe that, and I want to go in the direction, but right now I'm hungry. It's like, first things first, my happiness first. But you realize it, and you realize you're doing that. But you still say, I have to keep imprinting these thoughts in my mind. So I keep saying them to myself again and again, trying to feel them, trying to experience them as much as I can each time I say them. And slowly, slowly, as I do that, then that thought, that feeling gets integrated in my mind until one day it becomes spontaneous. And it's just our natural, habitual way of looking at sentient beings. And won't that be nice? Yeah? Can you imagine? Every time you see any sentient being, each and every mosquito that was chasing you last night, when you were trying to take a walk, each and every mosquito, when you see each one, your thought is, I want to become a Buddha to benefit you. I want to be able to give you something more than my blood. Yeah, because I'm having a hard time even giving you my blood. And it's only like, what is it, 1 or 2 drops? Yeah, we have such a hard time. But, so we think this again and again and build up our energy. And then it becomes spontaneous at some point.
I have a practice question. So I've heard and have been taking my self-centered person, being, and sort of putting him over to the side. Mm-hmm. It's this black, tarry, red eyes, dripping, really ugly thing. Smells, dripping with swamp water. Should I go on? No. So it's really bad. So, and I've been visualizing the Buddha. We're both sitting there. What do I do now?
Right, you're visualizing who's sitting
The
there?
Buddha is in front of both of us.
Mm-hmm.
My self-centered, inherently existing, icky person is next to me.
Uh-huh.
So I've taken that out. I'm trying to practice to eliminate that self-centered person. I've done that.
Okay.
But he still seems to hang around. How do I get rid of him?
Yeah.
Am I doing something wrong?
Slowly. Okay, so there's two ways. One way is the taking and giving meditation, where you imagine it not sitting next to you, but as a lump at your heart of the self-centeredness and self-grasping. And then you imagine taking others' pain and suffering and it becoming like a lightning bolt that then hits that lump at your heart and blows it up. Okay? So that's the whole taking and giving meditation. This is another long meditation. I'm not explaining all the steps right now, but you can read about it. The best explanation I've ever seen in it is in the book Transforming Adversity into Joy and Courage by Geshe Jumpa Tek Choke. Okay, we have it in our downstairs. Okay, chapter 11. Yeah, I edited the book, so but it's the clearest explanation of that meditation I've ever come across. So that's one way. Another way to do it is you just think of your self-centered mind over here, and you can dress it up, and sometimes you just leave it amorphous, but sometimes it can be very helpful, to create this caricature of, your self-centered mind. Yeah. And maybe it has big ears, or, maybe it's always crying, Or, who knows what it looks like. You want to tell your story? Where's the mic? Oh, you didn't save him?
No, I didn't save. I took a photograph. But Venerable had me. It was the self-centered mind expressing itself as self-hate, and she suggested that some of us do an effigy of this phenomenon. So mine was made of potatoes, and it was lumpy and big, huge, rusty screws. I don't even know what they were, but the main thing was it had this insatiably open mouth, unable to be fed, and the tongue hanging out, and it was just gross. But it was so satisfying to actually put this physical features on this thing and then put it in the middle of the dining room table so everybody had to see it. Like, this is what that self-hate, self-centered mind looks like, feels like. And Venerable Jigme walked by, and she said in her very kind of a Frida, what's her name? Frida Freud way. She looked. It was very kind. It wasn't smart alecky, but she in that Frida Freud mind, she looked at it and she said, "Bet it feels good to get that out, doesn't it?" And the fact was, it did. And part of the shame of hiding such a hideous phenomenon, was really evaporated, because there it is, right there in the middle of the dining room. Everybody can see it. That big open mouth. Feed me, feed me, feed me. Love me, love me, love me. Help me, help me, help me. That one. It was very obvious. So it's helpful, but you need a loving crowd to walk around and stare at it and judge it and evaluate. That's part of the process.
Yeah, but it's very good. Sometimes I do this on retreat, is have people draw. If your self-centered mind had a physical form, what would it look like? Or make an effigy kind of thing. And it really, it helps you see different aspects. Anyway, to get back to Scott's question, you put your self-centered thought over here, because our self-centered thought is not us. Okay? So here's one very big difference between Buddhism and science. Science says we are hardwired to think of ourselves. Yeah. Buddhism says, no, that is not an innate part of ourself. It's something that can be transformed, that can be undone. So you put your self-centered mind over here, and then you think of the problems that come your way, or the criticism that comes your way, whatever it is that you don't like, that usually ticks off an explosion inside you of your self-centered mind. Like, how can they talk to me that way? And who do they think they are? And I'm right, they're wrong, and I'm going to win this argument, and I've got to be comfortable at all costs. You take all those problems that would usually elicit that, and you give the problems to the self-centered thought. Okay? Which means that then, because the self-centered thought is the one who created the problems, either through what it made me do this life or the negative karma that it made me create in previous lives. Okay? So problems come, I give them to the self-centered thought, which means I don't need to get bent out of shape. Somebody criticizes, oh, you're such a lazy bum. I gave you some responsibility and you didn't do what I thought you were going to do, and then you lied to get out of it. Self-centered thought, you're the one that made that happen, that made me act that way towards other people. Here's their criticism, you get their criticism. Okay? So mentally you give it to the self-centered thought. And then in that way, you don't get upset about whatever a person is complaining about. But you also own that, yeah, I didn't do what I said I was going to do. And I did kind of, fib a little bit. Well, okay, I lied. You know, and what that person is saying is, is true. So I have to own it. But, you don't get bummed out because you've given all of that to the self-centered thought. Okay. Yeah.
Venerable, I think I can speak louder.
Yeah.
Venerable Jigme said something years ago that has always stayed with me that I found very helpful, and that is, anytime my mind is disturbed, it's self-cherishing thought. And just that sentence has really helped a lot to know when that's happening.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's true. That self-centered thought is there every time we're unhappy, every time our mind is disturbed, every time we're complaining.
Earlier in the book, His Holiness says that you can use love as an antidote to anger in your calm abiding meditation. And so I just don't understand how you do that.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. It's, you're putting two things together. Some people use love as the object of their serenity meditation. So that's their meditation object. Or you can use the meditation on love as an antidote to anger in general, if anger comes up and interrupts any meditation you're doing.
Venerable, I was wondering, with respect to this third step where I will do whatever I can to help her or him, how does that play out for you when you're contemplating Donald Trump?
How does it play out for me in what?
When you're thinking about how you can do whatever you can.
To help Donald Trump? Right now, it's on the level of making prayers. Yeah. And maybe teaching what I'm teaching and trying to turn other people's minds in that way. And yeah. And still signing petitions and writing letters. But not angry ones. Yeah. I don't like the angry petitions.
I was just recalling to mind how different it's on the kind of theme of impermanence. And Donald Trump will come and go, and that's encouraging. And and I was thinking of that scene where Obama took a bunch of his aides to Five Guys. I think it's a fast food joint or something. But he just said, one lunchtime, he just said, let's go get burgers, and he just went down, in somewhere in Washington, and it was on the TV and everything. So I think one of the meditations is to think about how impermanent, how quickly these things change, also. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of encouraging.
Yeah, that's another meditation to help us not get too weighed down, or too angry.
Relating to our self-centeredness, because it is the source of so much suffering, right, in our lives, and maybe doing effigies and that sort of thing, or help us kind of sublimate it or deal with it in a more healthy way. Might there ever be a time when you could relate to your self-centeredness as a friendly way, in a kind way, instead of having hatred and aversion towards them, which I'm not saying that that's what we do, but there's that ugly element to it, right? Mm-hmm. But might there be a time, because I think I remember a talk you gave, maybe you were talking about something else, about making friends with that aspect.
Yeah. There's another thing that I do in my meditation. When self-centeredness comes up in the form of one affliction or another, and is ranting or about something. And I'll kind of say, I'll have a little chat with it. And I'll say, what is it, dear, that you want? Yeah? And then your self-centered thought screams, I want this person to do this and that person to do that. And da-da-da-da. Okay, but what is it you really want? What is it that you're wanting? And I keep asking that. And then finally, self-centered thought, sometimes it says, I just want to be accepted. Yeah. Or I just want to feel good about myself. Or I just want to have a kind heart towards other people and not be burdened by my own anger and jealousy. But so to really ask the self-centered thought, what are you really wanting? What are you really trying to say? Because often, what we say is not really what we want. Yeah. We say, I want some external thing, as if that thing was going to make us happy. But what we're really wanting is a certain internal feeling, a certain need maybe to be met, so that that need stops screaming. Yeah. And so in that way, just kind of, I find it very helpful, what is it? Or when I'm really mad and ruminating, and say, what is it that I'm really trying to say? Yeah. Because saying to somebody that I care about, letting go a bunch of expletives, yeah, you're is that really what I want to say to that person? Yeah. What is it I'm really wanting? I'm really wanting harmony, isn't it? Yeah. I'm not wanting, I could start a big fight saying, have a huge fight. But is that what I'm really wanting? Is to have a fight? No, what I'm wanting is to live harmoniously with this person. Yeah. And so under the influence of the self-centered thought, we often do things that bring about the opposite of what we really want. Okay? So to just sit with that, what is it I'm really wanting? Yeah. My boss gave the promotion to so-and-so. They got the appreciation, but I did most of the work, and they got this, and it's like this my whole life. Other people always get the accolades for the things that I work hard on doing, and on and on. Okay, what is it that I'm really wanting? Yeah, what is it I'm wanting? On one level, I'm just wanting some acknowledgement of what I do. On another level, even deeper, I'm wanting to know that what I did helped somebody, that it contributed to the common good. Yeah. Do I need somebody else to say something for me to know in my heart that I contributed to the common good? No. I don't need somebody else to say that to me. If I know it in my heart, I know it in my heart. Somebody else can say, oh, you did this and this and this, thank you. But really, if I have the ability to look fairly at my actions, and yeah, I did something that contributed to the common good. I wasn't the star of the show. That's okay. You don't need to be the star of the show. Yeah. But you need to be able in your own heart to rejoice at what you did. Yeah. Okay. So, like that. So I think that's a good point to stop. So next year, actually, I didn't even get to the end of this chapter. There was something on page, what is that, 208 that I wanted to say, but I didn't get to. So, yeah, so come back next year, okay?